What if I told you that the most powerful food for your blood vessels is something most doctors tell you to avoid? What if I told you it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, double the number of repair cells circulating in your bloodstream, and increase the production of the one molecule that keeps your arteries flexible and open? And what if I told you it costs less than $1 a day and you can find it in any grocery store in the country? I am talking about dark chocolate. Real dark chocolate. Not the candy bar in the checkout line. Not the milk chocolate with caramel and nougat. I am talking about chocolate that is 70% cacao or higher, the kind that tastes slightly bitter, the kind most people push aside because they think healthy food cannot possibly taste this good. For decades, chocolate has been in the penalty box of nutrition. Doctors told their patients to avoid it. Nutritionists lumped it in with junk food. The sugar industry spent millions making sure you associated chocolate with guilt rather than health. Meanwhile, in research universities across Europe and the United States, scientists have been quietly accumulating evidence for over 2 decades, showing that the compounds inside raw, unprocessed dark chocolate are some of the most potent cardiovascular protectors ever studied in food. The Cuna people of Panama, who drink multiple cups of raw cacao daily, have nearly 0 incidence of hypertension even in old age. When researchers first discovered this in the 1990s, they assumed it was genetics. It was not. When Cuna people moved to Panama City and switched to commercial cocoa, their blood pressure rose to match everyone else. It was always the cacao. I am Dr. Margaret Hale, 28 years in integrative medicine and clinical nutrition. And today, I am going to walk you through the science that your cardiologist probably never mentioned. 4 clinical studies, real numbers, real participants, real results. And then I am going to give you the exact protocol for using dark chocolate as a legitimate tool in your cardiovascular protection strategy. Let me tell you about a woman named Vivian, 64 years old, retired dental hygienist from Charlotte, North Carolina. Vivian came to me because her blood pressure had been creeping up for 3 years. It was sitting at 148/92. Her doctor wanted to put her on a second medication. She was already taking one, and it was giving her dizziness and fatigue. She told me she felt like she was trading one problem for another. She asked me if there was anything at all she could try before adding another pill. She was a woman who had taken care of other people's teeth for 37 years, and now felt like her own body was betraying her. I asked her what she ate for dessert. She said she did not eat dessert because her doctor told her sugar was bad for her blood pressure. Then I asked her if she liked chocolate. She looked at me like I had lost my mind. Now, before I tell you what happened to Vivian, I need to explain what is actually inside dark chocolate that makes it so powerful. The active compounds are called Flavanols, specifically Epicatechin. These are plant-based molecules that belong to a family called polyphenols. When you eat dark chocolate with a high cacao content, these flavanols enter your bloodstream within about 30 minutes. And the first thing they do is activate an enzyme in the walls of your blood vessels called endothelial nitric oxide synthase. That is a mouthful, so let me simplify it. This enzyme produces a gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the single most important molecule for blood vessel health. It tells the smooth muscle cells in your artery walls to relax. When they relax, the artery opens wider. Blood flows more easily. Pressure drops. Think of it like turning a stiff garden hose into a flexible rubber tube. Same amount of water flowing through, but the flexible tube handles it effortlessly, while the stiff one builds up pressure and eventually bursts. That is what is happening inside your arteries every second of every day. And flavanols from dark chocolate are one of the most effective natural ways to keep those walls flexible. Study number 1. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the journal Nutrients in 2024. Researchers analyzed 31 randomized controlled trials involving 1,986 participants. They measured the effect of cocoa consumption on systolic and diastolic blood pressure. The results showed that cocoa flavanol consumption reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 2.52 millimeters of mercury and diastolic by 1.58. Now that might sound small until you understand the context. A reduction of just 2 millimeters of mercury in systolic blood pressure at a population level reduces the risk of stroke by about 10% and heart disease by about 7%. And in participants who already had elevated blood pressure, the pre-hypertensive and hypertensive subgroups, the reduction was much larger. Systolic dropped by 5 millimeters of mercury. Diastolic dropped by nearly 3. That is the range you typically see with a first-line blood pressure medication. From chocolate. And unlike medications, there were no side effects reported, no dizziness, no fatigue, no electrolyte imbalances, no muscle cramps. The people in these studies ate cocoa and their blood pressure went down. When they stopped, it went back up. It was as clear and direct as clinical evidence gets. If you have a family member or friend who is struggling with blood pressure, who is tired of medications that make them dizzy and fatigued, send them this video. This could give them an option they did not know existed. Study number 2. Published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. Researchers at the University of Dusseldorf took 16 patients with coronary artery disease, average age 64. They gave them a high flavanol cocoa drink, providing 750 milligrams of total flavanols twice daily for 30 days. They also gave them a low flavanol version as a control, matched for calories and macronutrients in a crossover design. The results were remarkable. Endothelium-dependent vasomotor function, which is a fancy way of saying how well your blood vessels open and close in response to demand, improved by 47% in the high flavanol period compared to the low flavanol period. 47% improvement in how well your arteries function in 30 days. But here is the finding that really captured my attention. The number of circulating angiogenic cells, which are essentially stem cells that repair damaged blood vessel walls, more than doubled. Your body has a repair crew for your arteries. These cells circulate in your bloodstream, find areas of damage, and patch them up. The flavanols in dark chocolate more than doubled the size of that repair crew in 1 month. Let me put this another way. Your arteries are like a highway. Over time, the surface develops cracks and potholes from wear, inflammation, and oxidative stress. These angiogenic cells are the road repair crew. They drive around in your bloodstream looking for damage and patching it up before it becomes a dangerous lesion. When you eat the right kind of dark chocolate, you are doubling the number of repair trucks on that highway. The damage gets fixed faster than it accumulates. That is how you reverse arterial aging instead of just slowing it down. I put all of my cardiovascular, cellular, and immune rebuilding protocols into one comprehensive guide. The Reversal Protocol. Morning to night, step by step. What to eat, what to take, what to avoid, and exactly when. Everything in one place instead of scattered across 100 different videos. The link is in the pinned comment below. Study number 3. A systematic review and dose-response meta-analysis published in 2024 looked specifically at the effect of dark chocolate and cocoa on oxidative stress and inflammation in adults. They analyzed multiple randomized controlled trials and found that cocoa consumption significantly reduced markers of oxidative stress and lowered C-reactive protein, which is one of the most reliable indicators of systemic inflammation. This matters enormously for seniors because chronic low-grade inflammation is the driver behind almost every age-related disease. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, joint degeneration. When you reduce oxidative stress and inflammation simultaneously, you are not just treating symptoms, you are addressing the root cause of why the body breaks down as it ages. The flavanols in dark chocolate act as both antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents at the same time. Very few food compounds do both. Most antioxidant supplements work on one pathway. Most anti-inflammatory drugs work on a different pathway and come with side effects that damage your stomach lining and kidneys over time. Cocoa flavanols address both pathways simultaneously, with no documented side effects at the doses we are discussing. This is food doing what pharmaceuticals struggle to accomplish safely. If you appreciate this kind of research-based content, subscribe to this channel. I put out a new video every week, and each one is designed to give you practical tools backed by real science. Not opinions, not trends, evidence. Study number 4. Endothelial function measured by flow-mediated dilation. A meta-analysis of 19 clinical trials with 454 total participants examined the effects of dark chocolate and cocoa products on flow-mediated dilation, which is considered the gold standard measurement of how healthy your blood vessels are. The pooled results showed a significant improvement in flow-mediated dilation after cocoa consumption. The researchers noted that the mechanism was directly linked to increased nitric oxide bioavailability. More nitric oxide means more vasodilation, means healthier blood vessels, means lower blood pressure, means longer life. It is a chain reaction. And the triggering molecule, Epicatechin from cocoa flavanols, starts the entire cascade within 30 minutes of consumption. Now here is something I want you to really understand before I give you the protocol. All 4 of these studies used specific doses and specific types of cocoa. Not all chocolate is medicine. Most of what you find in the candy aisle has been stripped of the very compounds that produce these benefits. The processing method matters. The cacao percentage matters. The dose matters. This is where most people get it wrong. They hear dark chocolate is healthy, and they grab whatever is on sale. Then, after 3 months of eating the wrong product, they see no change in their blood pressure and conclude the research was wrong. The research was not wrong. They just ate the wrong chocolate. Now here is the exact protocol, and the details matter more than you think because most people eat chocolate wrong. Step 1. Choose chocolate that is at least 70% cacao. 85% is even better if you can tolerate the bitterness. The higher the cacao percentage, the higher the flavanol content. Milk chocolate typically contains less than 30% cacao and is loaded with sugar that counteracts the benefits. White chocolate contains 0 flavanols. It is not even real chocolate from a nutritional perspective. Step 2. Eat 20 to 30 grams per day. That is roughly 1 ounce. About 2 to 3 small squares depending on the brand. This is the dose range that produced the results in the clinical trials I just described. More is not better. Chocolate is still calorie-dense, around 150 to 170 calories per ounce. The goal is a precise therapeutic dose, not a free pass to eat an entire bar. Step 3. Eat it after a meal, not on an empty stomach. When you consume flavanols with other food, especially food that contains some fat and fiber, the absorption is slower and more sustained. This produces a longer window of nitric oxide production rather than a short spike. Some of my patients eat their chocolate square after lunch. Others prefer it after dinner. The timing is less important than the consistency. Step 4. Look for chocolate that says minimally processed or not Dutch processed on the label. Dutch processing, also called alkalization, is a treatment that makes chocolate less bitter and darker in color, but it destroys up to 60 to 90% of the flavanols. You are paying for the flavor and getting almost none of the medicine. This is the single biggest reason why some people eat dark chocolate for years and see no cardiovascular benefit. They are eating the wrong kind. Step 5. Pair it with a source of vitamin C, a few strawberries, a small handful of orange slices, a kiwi. Vitamin C has been shown to enhance the absorption and activity of flavanols. It is a small addition that can meaningfully increase the effectiveness of the protocol. Now let me tell you the 3 biggest mistakes people make with dark chocolate. Mistake number 1. Choosing Dutch processed chocolate without knowing it. The label does not always say Dutch processed. Sometimes it says processed with alkali or alkalized cocoa. Check the ingredients list, not just the front of the package. If you see the word alkali anywhere, put it back on the shelf. Mistake number 2. Eating chocolate with too much sugar. Some 70% dark chocolate brands add significant sugar back in. Flip the bar over. If sugar is the first or second ingredient, it is too much. Look for bars where cacao or cocoa mass is the first ingredient and sugar is third or lower. Mistake number 3. Treating dark chocolate as a standalone solution. Flavanols are powerful. The studies are real. But dark chocolate works best as part of a comprehensive cardiovascular strategy, combined with regular walking, adequate magnesium, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and the other protocols I have covered in previous videos. The synergistic effect is far greater than any single intervention alone. Dark chocolate is a powerful tool. It is not the entire toolbox. But here is what makes it unique in that toolbox. Compliance. In 28 years of practice, I have never had a patient complain about being told to eat chocolate. Every other dietary change I recommend gets resistance. Eat more vegetables, cut out sugar, reduce processed food. People struggle with all of those. But eat a piece of dark chocolate every day after lunch? I have a 100% compliance rate. And in medicine, the best intervention in the world is useless if people do not actually do it. Dark chocolate is the rare case where the science and the human experience of pleasure are perfectly aligned. Tell me in the comments, do you eat dark chocolate regularly? What percentage do you prefer? And have you noticed any changes in how you feel? I want to hear your experience because every comment teaches me something new about what my audience needs. Let me tell you what happened to Vivian. I put her on 25 grams of 85% dark chocolate daily, non-Dutch processed, taken after lunch with a few strawberries. I did not change her existing medication. I did not add any supplements yet. I wanted to isolate the effect. After 4 weeks, we rechecked her blood pressure. It was 136/86, a 12-point drop in systolic and a 6-point drop in diastolic, in 4 weeks, from chocolate. Her doctor was skeptical until she saw the numbers. At the 8-week mark, Vivian was at 132/84. Her doctor agreed to hold off on the second medication. Vivian told me something I will never forget. She said, "Dr. Hale, for 3 years, every doctor visit felt like bad news. This is the first time I left a doctor's office smiling." She paused, and then she said, "And you are telling me to eat chocolate? I still cannot believe it. That is what the right information can do. Not a miracle, not a magic cure. Just the right compound, in the right dose, in the right form, supported by clinical evidence. Your body knows how to heal itself. It knows how to open its own arteries, repair its own vessel walls, reduce its own inflammation. Sometimes it just needs you to give it the raw materials, and sometimes those raw materials come in a form you never expected. Vivian still has her 2 squares of dark chocolate after lunch every day. She calls it her medicine, and every time she unwraps that small piece of 85% cacao, she smiles, because she knows exactly what it is doing inside her body. Every bite is opening her arteries a little wider. Every flavanol molecule is signaling her blood vessels to produce more nitric oxide. Every day, her repair cells are patrolling her circulatory system in numbers that would make her cardiologist proud. All from something she used to feel guilty about eating. Share this video with someone who loves chocolate and does not know it could be saving their life. Share it with someone whose blood pressure keeps climbing and who is tired of adding medications. And if you want my complete protocol, everything from morning to night, for rebuilding your cardiovascular system, your immune function, and your cellular health, the reversal protocol is in the pinned comment. I also have a video about a category of food that rebuilds your gut bacteria and slashes inflammation. If you have not seen it yet, watch it next. These two protocols work beautifully together. This is Dr. Margaret Hale. Eat the chocolate. The real kind, not the candy. Not the Dutch processed bar with alkali in the ingredients. The real, minimally processed, 70% or higher, bitter and beautiful dark chocolate that your blood vessels have been waiting for. Your arteries will thank you, and so will the next 20 years of your life.